Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Marketing Madmen. Trip Job and Nick Constantino live from the Battery. And hey, we're going to have a little fun today.
Yeah. I think you missed the last one, Trip, when we met with somebody whose only job is to be the conduit between CMOs and agencies. Now, the last time I checked, the CMO's role is to find agencies, and the agency role is to find CMOs, but now there's a middleman. Did you know that?
You know, it's wonderful that someone has found a gap, but the problem is there shouldn't be the gap. So it's probably a great market. Sorry I missed that one, and I know they did well, but if CMO's doing their job right, then everything, should be done between them and the agencies to begin with.
I agree, and I go side to side. First, I'm like, oh my God, these CMOs are shooting themselves in the foot. And I'm like, oh my God, these agencies are set up this way. And honestly, the market just needs to find equilibrium. Yeah. We're so scattered right now. There's so much fragmentation, so many people vying for pools of money and this and that. And then all of a sudden now the economy starts shrinking and those budgets get tighter and nobody knows what to do. It's just panic. So that being said, as usual in these instances, instead of you and I just trying to defend or talk one side of it, we will bring someone on that knows what the hell they're talking about. So with that being said, I will introduce Brooke MacLean of MarketWake, and she is going to explain to us how her agency is different and how to stand out in such a crowded group of people.
I'm thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, and I listened to that episode. I know that guy.
You know that guy?
Yeah,
you know that episode?
I know that guy.
That helps with the framing. So
it does.
I think before you go into introducing yourself, give some context. Just how many agencies? What is it like bidding for business? I mean, what kind of conversations are you having? Just frame it, and briefly, because I don't want to get too in the weeds to start, but just frame kind of what you're seeing in that sense and how we got here.
Yeah, listen, I was on the brand side for years and years. This is my first experience in agency world. And I think that gave me a very unique perspective on the pain that all of these CMOs have working with agencies. Sure. I was the CEO of a software company for a while, and before that was working at a very, very large $500 million firm. And we were interfacing with all kinds of agencies all the time. Some were specialists, some were generalists, some said that they were really good at one thing, and turns out they weren't. And I said that there has to be another way, there has to be another model. And I found agencies really fell into two buckets, right? One was creative, and they were excellent on the creative side. They had big ideas. They had no concept on how it related back to revenue or business line growth. And then the other was more analytical, where maybe they understood what integrations look like, what the CMS needed to be, how everything integrated, but they really were not creative. And there was a huge gap, because I think that if you're going to make a name for yourself from a marketing perspective, you have to think about what your brand means and says, and then also how you drive bottom line.
Yeah, but isn't that I think that's the fundamental problem with marketing right now, is the match of art and science, and the mix of art and science is what people are having the hardest time with, right? All the old school creative CMOs have been forced and pushed out for all these analytical people, right? But the last time I checked, it is very hard to create an emotional connection with data. And they're trying.
And they're trying. Well, and that's funny. That was our tagline from the very get-go, where data meets creativity, because there has to be both. And it's harder and harder the farther up you get. So the more enterprise you're working with, there's so much separation between departments. There is the communications team, there's the PR team, there's the performance team, the analytics team. And for an agency,
heard me rant a little earlier about some things I'm dealing with at our company, but
I may have been listening. Yes. And I think in having, I understand the specialties that are needed, and you want the best at those certain roles, but I think at a certain point you miss the whole picture and how all these different pieces are moving together. And that does make it hard for, we're a brand strategy and a performance marketing firm, so we're trying to see the full funnel as best we can. But sometimes people bring us in for only one aspect of it, and that's fine. But as long as we know that someone in there has the full funnel view.
Yeah, one thing I applaud you that you've been on both sides, and one of my favorite friends in the industry was he was a GM for many, many years building materials, and he finally said, "Hey, I want to build the agency that I always wanted to work with."
Yeah.
And I assume that's kind of what you're doing.
That's it. And I understand what it feels like to be frustrated on the brand side, to say you are not listening, you are land grabbing, you are fighting for more that you really don't deserve, and can you just listen, and can we collaborate on the same side of the table? And really that's one of the biggest things at MarketWake, is you're on the same side of the table with your agent or with your brand, period. You're not in contradiction, you're not fighting, you're not trying to get more, you're job is to add value as best you can and sit on the same side of the table. Be on the same team.
Now, that being said, you coming from a different world probably allowed you to think differently going into it, because one of the problems in these agencies are put in a bad spot from the beginning, because clients want more flexibility. Clients want shorter term deals. These agencies are investing countless hours, time, money into these relationships to only get these short term things back. So again, that's why I say we need to reach a new state of equilibrium. There's too many agencies. You can't have 8 different agencies all trying to do their own thing while the client is sitting there trying to track them down, right? The days of cattle calls of having them all in a room together, those don't happen anymore. Half the people are remote. No one's honest on a Teams call. Half the people aren't wearing freaking pants. Like, it's just a completely it's just a complete so that being said, okay, so I agree with everything that you're saying. When you're going bidding on a piece of business, how many people are involved? I mean, are there agencies in every direction? Are you getting, I'm sure people are bad-mouthing you, not realizing that that's the worst thing that can happen, bad-mouthing someone else. You know, ultimately, when are we going to get to the point? Like, I learned about 8 years ago, the one thing I was going to know about radio, it's a dying industry. So the rising tide needs to lift all ships. So I will never badmouth somebody in the industry. I'll give my honest opinion. I will say, look, in these situations, the corporate structure might not be the best, but you have a bunch of people who look out every day and see pressure and a bad industry that is in trouble. And instead of helping each other, they're just trying to take each other down. When does that fix itself?
It has to be at an individual basis. I'm actually part of a CEO group with 7 other CEOs of agencies. Okay. And we're working on this on a daily basis. Is there overlap between us? Yes.
Yeah.
But are there plenty of areas where there's not, where we can actually provide better value to our clients because we trust the person who we're bringing to the table? Yes. So I think it has to happen at an individual basis for CEOs of agencies to just let go of their pride and ego in certain ways. and maybe as a woman, I can do that a little easier.
Yeah, I guess that's it. One thing. That's it. That's how you get away with it.
Well, but I have a feeling. What do you want to accomplish, right? And I think there's a lot of agency owners out there who what they want to accomplish is related to that ego. It could be around awards or whatever, or they want to accomplish, growing a business for their employees and for their clients. I mean, what are they looking for?
You can do that, right. And you can do it even more successfully when you are opening the opportunity for other agencies to come along with you, right. And really figuring. So we work with a very, very large client. They are global, Fortune 100, and they had 3 other agencies. We're only the performance marketing piece. We're only doing paid ads, right? Well, there's a group doing creative. There's a group doing SEO. That's fine. None of them are really talking. So we invited everyone to our office. One thing about MarketWake, we have been in office since really day one, and we're not remote, though we do have remote employees, and that's fine. We find it so much better to be in office as much as we possibly can. Because of that, it's actually opened the door for us to bring in other clients and other opportunities and other agencies to use our office as kind of that home for collaboration. And that actually is one of the reasons why we acquired this company Punchlist, to say, okay, what does it look like for MarketWake to be the home for collaboration in the tools that we use and in the relationships that we build? Because if we can solve that problem, marketing changes all the time. There's always something new. I mean, you just had an AI episode. It was phenomenal. It's moving so fast. Google just had their marketing conference yesterday. The data that came out of the Google conference was absolutely mind-blowing. Marketing is moving at such a rapid pace that the only way that we can really grow the high tides rise all ships is to find ways to collaborate.
Yeah.
Well, so I want you to do a test, because I have a real belief.
A great test taker.
Going back to in-person versus remote. I want you to take your tool, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, with the AI that does the transcription and pulls everything together, and record an in-person client meeting, and then record a very similar Teams and whatever meeting, and see the difference of how much information actually gets shared. I mean,
we've done it.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, so we did this test.
I know what the answer's got to be.
Our in-person meetings average between 20 and 40 minutes.
Yep.
Our Zoom meetings typically are 30 to 60 minutes. There's so much dead space. They're not productive. We have to have 2 or 3 Zoom meetings for the same 20-minute in-person meeting.
And the detail of what they open up about what their issues are, what they're trying to accomplish, is probably 3 to 4-fold in person.
You hold each other accountable, man. I mean, there's no other way to say this, right? The problem with Zoom is that it's hard to hold somebody accountable that is across the country on a TV screen. In a sales department, in marketing, you cannot hold accountability. Is, hey, you make eye contact with me while I'm talking to you because I'm spending my time to share this information with you. You cannot do that over Zoom. You just can't do it. There's no way.
Last week I did old school. I was up we had an annual business review with a client, and then there's one I had met, and I really were hoping to get some business eventually from them. And I just said, hey, I'm going to be up in your area about 30 miles away. He goes, yeah, let's meet. Went to their office. I mean, literally, I asked like 3 questions. I mean, 45 minutes just told me everything about their business.
That's it.
That's the move.
That's it.
And it's like, you don't get that anymore.
Well,
right?
you've seen in Zoom, and you can always tell when it gets a little brighter and their eyes start to kind of drift away from the camera. And it's like, you're multitasking. You're looking at your email right now.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have so many Zoom meetings to get the same work done in the 20 minutes. So I have this little trick that I do. It is, maybe there's a marketing conference going on, and I don't know if in these conferences it's always the best place to meet people because it's so busy, right? And so I'll reach out to a bunch of people and I'll say, hey, I'm going to be at this conference, and then I'll post up at this really nice bar, typically a rooftop if I can. If you want to break, would you just want to come pop in and get a cocktail if you want to break? Well, I had no intention of going to the conference until I get 4 or 5 people to say, yes, I'll meet you for this, for cocktails afterwards. And I have a stacked group of meetings because they need a break from the conference. They want to meet in person. No one's willing to meet in person the same way. And it's been a phenomenal way to grow our network across the nation.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. When COVID happened, because of some rule from like the 70s that said we were essential, we never shut this office down. I never missed one single day of work. And from that point on, do you know how many people would just meet with us because they wanted human connection so bad? Because they wanted, do you know how many different clients and vendors that I had that all they wanted to do was work for me because they were so bored and they didn't know what to do? Do you know how much this company grew from 2000 to, now the Braves winning the World Series at the end of 21 helped a little bit, but the amount of work we got done simply because we were coming to the office. And the haters out there, God, the haters. Nick, we could do a whole segment on the haters.
Oh, I would love to, because I opened our office May 1st, 2020. Do you know how controversial that was? But at the end of the day, it's like people are going to follow the strongest leader in the room, right? And if I'm saying it is fine, we can come back in office, we can do it. We never had to go through they created habits at home. They never did create habits at home. It was only the first month, and then we've been able to grow so fast.
I agree. We're in the same space.
Absolutely. We're going to dive a little into that, and we want to dive in a little bit more about MarketWake when we come back from the break. And you're listening to the Marketing Madmen on Extra 106.3.